Hello, welcome to Real Life Gays, the podcast that discusses and educates people on topics and issues relating to the LGBTQ plus community. My name is Gareth.
And I am Lee.
This episode, we are talking about being gay and single.
Because that is what we are.
That's what we are, single and proud. But as always, please remember to keep checking our website, reallifegays.com. Use the Get in Touch with Us feature and let us know your thoughts. We're going to be doing 10 episodes this season, and then we'll be having a little break, and then we'll be coming back for even more episodes because there's still lots and lots of topics that we want to discuss, including this week's one, as I've just said, is all about being gay, sad and alone.
I'm not sad. I'm not alone.
No. And this is like an interesting thing as well, because a lot of people assume because you're single that you're alone or you're lonely or you're unhappy. Because when people find out you're single, they kind of go, oh, like it's like poor you sort of thing. Do you experience that?
Yes, and especially not much now, but like when I was younger, like my grandparents would be like, oh, you're courting, you're dating. I'm like, no.
Yeah, but then it's almost like they're disappointed to hear that. They're like, oh, like, so when I got with my ex, people are kind of like applauding me, like, oh, well, you finally got with someone. I'm like, yeah, as if it's like some sort of achievement. So, but this episode, we're just basically going to discuss our past, how we managed to find our past relationships and, how our dating life is going, if it is at all. Especially nowadays in 2022, because the last couple of years have been a difficult time for everyone, especially if you're single and trying to date. It just was 10 times harder. So we're just going to see how each of us are either coping with being single and whether or not we're looking to get into a relationship and how important it is to each of us. We did an episode with Reese on YouTube channel not that long ago about being gay and single, so it's basically going to be a rehash of that, but just kind of talking about where we're at now, because Reese, all three of us were single at the time we did that one, but Reese is now with a man.
Ooh, girl.
I know, so he couldn't do this episode being gay and single because he isn't anymore. Bitch. But again, that's me saying, he's not better. We're not
bitter. We're not bitter at all.
But yeah, but this is why people think, oh, someone's found someone that it's something to be celebrated. But there's people who genuinely are happy being single and probably are happy being single for the rest of their life. Relationships might not be for them, and that's absolutely fine. But we're kind of designed to think that the end goal is to be married and settle down with someone and spend the rest of their lives with someone. And not everyone wants that, and that's absolutely fine.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I've possibly been in more relationships than, say, yourself, Gareth.
Is that just because you're a little bit older?
Just a little bit, yeah. I probably started dating around the age of 17, 18.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my first ever kind of boyfriend, whatever you could call it. I was still in love with my mum and dad, and actually went.
How did you find out? How did you find them?
I went to like a gay youth group. So when I came out, mum and dad found this youth group and blah blah blah. And I still keep in touch. We're still like keep in touch on like social media and whatnot now. Yeah, so it's like it wasn't through like the apps and this that, and the other like we do now. But yeah, I still remember my first boyfriend. I still remember all the others as well.
But that would be my next question. How many boyfriends would you say you've had? And when I say boyfriends, I mean like relationships longer than like 3 months. How many? No judgment from any of our listeners, including me.
Yes, but I don't even like answering this question when I'm having that conversation with a new partner.
Anyone. Longer than 3 months.
I haven't actually. I'd have to come back to you on that because I'd have to literally. I'd take too long to like count them up.
There've been that many.
Well, yeah, and not for no fault of my own. 9 times out of 10, it sounds. And I don't want sympathy. They've either cheated or most of them they've cheated, or we've just kind of fizzled out and then just kind of remained friends, which was nice. Yeah, probably my last, but not the last one, but the one before. We kind of rekindled things again. And that was just before lockdown. We had a weekend away, but kind of after that, because I was in Nottingham, they were down in Essex. Distance, I mean, I'm fine with distance. I actually like missing someone.
Your own space.
And yeah, I like a bit of my own space, but I also like, you know that you're going to plan and go and see them for the weekend or the week or whatever. So, you get yourself all spruced up.
It's more exciting and more sort of a special occasion, yeah.
That's it. So, like, you trim everything and do whatever you're doing. But yeah, we had a conversation and we just decided that it would kind of just fizzle out.
Yeah.
But we're still friends. I mean, we're still talking like to this day. We lost touch briefly just for, life getting in the way and work and whatnot. And we kind of started chatting again, more recently. So most days. So we'll see. But generally, when one of my relationships ever end, it sounds weird, but it's like this is the weird bit. It's like a weight's lifted. It's like,
do you feel maybe tied down?
Yeah, but I didn't feel tied down at the time whilst I'm in the relationship.
When it ends, you're kind of like, oh, you feel free.
Yeah, in a way. And it's like, yeah, I can go out and see friends and get drunk and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I could still have done anyway when I had done when I'm.
But you've got that kind of, I wouldn't say obligation, but you do feel that you have to think of someone else and not just yourself, because when you're in a relationship, you have to put that person first.
Yeah.
So when you don't have that relationship anymore, you want to go out. You can go out. You can do anything you want. You want to walk around naked. You want to order that takeaway when you shouldn't. There's no one there to look to first. So yeah, you've got the freedom. So you're single now, as we know.
I'm single now, and at the moment, I'm not actively looking.
How important is it to you to find someone else, if at all?
Do you know what? Hand on my heart, if I found the one, and I'm not going to lie, I would love, the house, the dog, the partner. Do you know what I mean? Invite people over for meals and all this, that, and the other. I would love something like that.
So is that your goal?
Oh, what's the word? I wouldn't say it's a goal because I'm not actively looking at the moment.
So is it the dream?
Possibly a dream, yeah. It's like winning the lottery, I suppose.
But do you not think... Also, you've just explained what we are conditioned to think from what we've seen on TV, and the heteronormative way of life is you get with someone, you date them, you get engaged, you get the house, you get married, you have kids, you get the dog, and then you live happily ever after. You think about it, how many people do you know that have done that from school or work, and you know the type of person you're like, oh, she's lovely, oh, she's just engaged, oh yep, she's going to get married, yep, oh yep, now she's pregnant, oh yep, and it just it goes the same path, and it's absolutely fine, they're happy, whatever. But at the same time, you're like, are we just sheep? We're just kind of, that's what we're taught is the norm, because you copy your family, and if they're happy and it works for them, great. But you've just explained there, you'd love the house, you'd love the dog and the partner and whatever. I'm just like, it's interesting because as gay guys, we don't have to be, the stereotypical normal way of life. We can kind of make our own journey.
But let me stop you there, because I had that. I had the house, the dog, car. I was learning to drive, I think it was. And I moved into theirs, and, I thought, okay, this is it. And we were probably together for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. But then, sounds awful, I'm not one that goes snooping on people's phones or anything like that. But I'm not one that hides my phone either. If you want to look at my phone, look at my phone. I've got nothing to hide. If I'm in a relationship, my mindset is you and me, that's it. I've never had an open relationship or anything like that. But this particular relationship I was in, it was probably a year and a half, coming to up to 2 years into the relationship. And do you know where you have a feeling? I can't explain it. People will probably understand what this feeling is. And I looked on their phone and I saw messages going back and forth live while I'm downstairs and they're upstairs in the bath.
Oh, was it connected to his iPad or something?
And it was literally going back and forth. And I'm like,
Whilst you were downstairs. Oh no, come on.
And the icing on the cake was I went to visit friends because it was my friend's dad's funeral. The person that I was with at the time dropped me to the train station. It was then later on that evening, and I thought, don't look. Anyway, I looked. It wasn't even 10 minutes after dropping me at the train station. They messaged to say he's gone now. Come round whenever you like.
So you knew he was cheating on you.
So then I saw this, ended up phoning my mum, crying. I got the train back, and you could just tell somebody else had been in the house. So I did what any self-righteous person would do in any of that situation. I took everything that was mine and left the person how I found them. So yeah.
How long ago was that?
5-6 years ago, plus something like that.
Do you think that has had a negative impact on your relationships going forward?
100%. And then not just that, even relationships from 10 years ago and, whenever, they've all kind of ended badly. And look, I don't want sympathy. Whilst I was in those certain relationships, there was fun times, happy times and everything else. But I'm also still very, very guarded, even going into a relationship. And I'm a Gemini, and I'm not saying I put on an act, because when I'm in a relationship, I am truly very happy. This person that is sitting opposite at the table to you or sitting next to you on the sofa, or you're planning to meet up for a weekend away or whatever. I love it. I love surprising my other half, doing little silly things and big things and, everything.
You like having someone to spoil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I just spoil myself.
Quite right.
So how do you date, Garrett? Or how did you date and how did you meet your ex-partner?
So like a lot of, not just gay people, everyone really now uses the apps, so Tinder for the gays, there's the Grinder. Well, obviously there's Tinder for gays as well. But I met my ex on one of the apps, and we kind of knew each other beforehand from working together. So it wasn't like a brand new, person. I wasn't a stranger. And then we met up for a date, and it just clicked. And he was my first, long-term relationship. I'd dated people before that fizzled out after a few weeks, but he was my first long-term, and we were together, nearly, 5-6 years. So now, though, obviously, fast forward, we're into 2022. There's still the same apps. We're not obviously being able to go out, to clubs and meet people naturally. In the last couple of years, things are improving now. But even then, I'm not probably the type of person that would approach a guy. I would have to wait for someone to approach me. But the kind of dates I've been going on now are all people I've met like through Tinder. I think like most people, I've never paid for one of the apps. Like I've not paid for like Match.com or any of these ones where you have to pay a subscription. I know some people have used them and have had some successful relationships through them, but they're straight people. So I don't know how successful they are for gay guys. But yeah, it feels like, again, you could ask this to anyone, gay or straight, any sexuality really, that it goes like a kind of pattern on these apps. You match, you've both swiped right for each other. You match, you either never talk, you've both matched and they just sit there as a match and nobody makes the first move. So they just kind of, disappear, or you message them and they don't reply, or they message you. I've never done it, but I always reply if they've messaged me first, and you have a chat, and the chat goes usually, hey, how are you? I'm good. How are you? What you on here for? Blah, blah, blah. And then you might speak for a few hours, you might speak for a few days, and then it just kind of hits a wall and it dies a death. Mm-hmm. There's the odd few people who have then said, well, why don't we meet? And sometimes you think, well, actually, the conversation's been going quite well. So yes, there's no reason I can see why not. Other times you think this chat isn't really going the right way and we're not clicking, or they've said something that, makes you think maybe this is a red flag or whatever. But I've probably been on, the last, almost 2 years now. 6, 7 dates, not a lot, compared to other people, and out of them, maybe 3 were successful. The rest of them, we just weren't compatible. And some people you meet and you just think, this is completely different to the type of person I've been speaking to online. And that's the biggest thing I always find just now is not necessarily catfishing, because I put my best photos on these profiles, as you do, because you want to get noticed. But it's the personality is so different when you meet them in person. And that's what I find difficult. So sometimes if I feel there's a connection, I'm like, let's meet really quickly so I don't waste time on you. Because, as soon as you meet them, you go, yeah, there's no connection, done. I've not wasted then 2 weeks chatting to you on WhatsApp or Messenger or whatever. And that's what I'm kind of trying now, is to just meet people as quick as possible, go for the coffee, just to see if there's a connection, to see if there's anything worth pursuing. But it's exhausting,
oh God. So back in the day, when I was probably Gareth's age, like 10 years ago, and even pre that. So I was a single guy, and, I'd go on the apps and you'd chat, like you say, back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay, get the gist of someone. So you say now that you would meet them for a coffee, say in a public place, blah, 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 and see if there's a connection. I would... I think this is where we're all a bit different because, and like the age thing is maybe a little bit different. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm 40 years of age, and I would invite someone over
to your house,
say to my home, yeah,
okay,
but not like say that I've just started chatting to that day or that night. Okay. We'd swap phone and maybe speak on the phone first, and then we'd say, "Oh, well, I'm free this weekend. Why don't you come over? Bring a bottle. I'll make something to eat." And I'd kind of do it like that and either watch a movie or, that type of thing, because I would feel more relaxed and more confident being in my own environment.
With a stranger?
Yeah.
What if they're weird? You'd have to ask them to leave. That's awkward.
Well, no, I've never had that.
Lucky you.
No, I've never had that. But this is probably the difference between myself and Gareth when I was younger. So to break the ice, if it's like a bit quiet and everyone's feeling a bit nervous, we'd just have sex.
Was not expecting that.
And then literally
everyone,
the pair of us would just feel so much more relaxed and yeah.
So it was a hookup then, okay.
But then not 9 times out of 10, but more often than not, that is how most of my relationships have started.
You were very different people, Lee.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people can relate to your way. But I would never invite anyone over to my home or go to their home without meeting them first. Obviously, there's other apps for that kind of thing if you just need an itch scratched, But dating-wise, I guess from past experience, knowing what I've met people in public, what they're like, and think, oh my God, this person's horrendous. The conversation is just awful and I need to escape. You've got these excuses. You're in a public place, you can run away. Not that I would run away, but you make your excuses and you leave. And then you never see that person again. If they were in my home, I would feel really awkward to ask someone to leave because that's rude. And I just think it would just be really uncomfortable. But also, they could be a psycho and you've just given them your address. They could knock you out and start, robbing you. This is where my mind goes, So that's why I'm like, meet them in a public place first.
Definitely. And I'm not condoning what I used to do or anything like that.
And now, is this used to do or do you still do it?
No, I haven't probably dated for, God knows how long.
But in future, is that how you would still do it?
See, I can't be asked dating at the moment. And you know what it is as well? I've changed my job. So my kind of work-life balance has kind of changed a little bit. And I'm a deputy manager now and I'm more, what's the word?
Career focused?
More career focused, that's it. Because I've always wanted to get to that level.
Yeah.
and I'm finally there.
And if you have a man, it would be an added distraction.
Well, so when I first got the role, it was only myself and I had one team leader. So now I've got 3 team leaders. So I was doing like alternate weekends still, or even every weekend, and I was working quite a lot. And then I was speaking to people, and I was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry," and I'd have to cancel because I was on call or something like that. So it's kind of took a back seat.
Yeah.
But when I am single and I'm not with anybody, I do have friends with benefits.
So you have people to scratch that itch what we're talking about.
Scratch the itch.
Okay.
Yeah.
But and this would be my next question to you then as well, is what do you miss most about being in a relationship?
Maybe the intimacy and the, them little moments that you have as a couple and the frequency of it. So with some of my friends with benefits, it's sometimes not even about sex. It's come over, have a bottle of wine, stay over, I'll cook. If there's benefits, then great. If not, then that's fine. Or I go to theirs. So I've kind of done the hello, how you doing, blah, 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 blah. And then we keep in touch. But when I am in a relationship, I cut ties and I'd say, oh, I'm not seeing anybody out. I'm seeing someone now. I can't do this anymore. But then I was just about to say something, but it just sounds so... It sounds so reversed, like the wrong way. So when I'm in a relationship, 9 times out of 10, they cheat. When I'm single, I, message the people that were in my life when I was single to scratch that itch or to just let them know, oh, I'm single now. Let me know if you ever, want to meet up or not or whatever. And they come back and go, oh, okay, didn't last then. And I'm like, no.
No, another one bites the dust.
My friends with benefits have lasted longer than most of my relationships. We're talking probably a good 15, 18 years. I've known some of them.
And is that just ever going to just be the friends with benefits? There's never going to be anything more there?
1 or 2 of them, I've kind of thought about it, but then...
You want to ruin a good thing?
Kinda.
Yeah.
Because I probably get them and they probably get me when we're at our kind of best.
Yeah.
They don't see me first thing in the morning. They don't see me after a busy shift at work and I'm just blah. They don't see me when I need to trim my beard and all this jazz. They see me, at your best when you're going on your first date and stuff like that.
So do they come around not just for sex? Obviously, sometimes they come around just to have, as you say, someone to snuggle with.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because I have that with one of my straight girlfriends. Because we both separated from our partners at the same time, we use each other as our partner. So we sit and watch TV together. We have a little spoon. We stay over at each other's houses. We go to dinner with each other. We spend Valentine's together. We go on holidays together. We use each other as almost like we're in a little relationship to kind of stop the loneliness. And when you just need someone to vent to or a shoulder to cry on, and it feels like, in a way, we're so glad each of us separate from the partners at the same time because we have that in common and it brought us so close together. And I couldn't imagine going through my divorce without her, and being gay and single is really hard, especially when you're feeling lonely. So to have someone who's close by who gets it as well, because she's got her own struggles being straight and single, because it's just as hard. So having someone like that, it's my kind of friends with benefit without the sex. The benefit is having the intimacy and the closeness with that person when you need it.
Yeah, I actually, when you do get into a relationship, I don't know about you, but each relationship I've got into, and people listening might relate to this, you do kind of neglect your friends. When you're single, you're going out with your friends, you're doing this, that, and the other, going cinema, going nights out, blah, 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 stopping over at theirs, da. So when you're seeing someone, something's got to give. Obviously, you still need to go to work, and then I kind of like still seeing my friends. I like my partner to go and see their friends, and then I like us to do stuff together. I see his friends, and they see my friends, and then if it does happen, then all of us go out together and do a thing like that. But I kind of sent a text out to to a little group of friends that I've got saying, I've decided that I'm going to be single, but I'm going to be in a relationship with you because I think I want to invest more time with my friends. So we have nights in together, we have house parties together at certain friends and everything else, and we go gym and swimming together, and probably maybe similar to what you've got with one of your friends. I've got it with maybe 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
So,
and this is my biggest, not fear, but my concern is when one of us gets into a relationship, it's not going to be the same because, like you say, that person you then get into a relationship with needs to come first. Obviously, you don't have to neglect your friends completely, but it's never going to be the same. Because when I want to go to the cinema or want to just pop round for a coffee and a chat, you'd have a third person you need to take into consideration. And I've seen it happen with a lot of my other friends, and I don't, hold grudges against it because you have to respect that person they're dating is their priority, especially when it's a new relationship. They have to build up the trust, and they'll be going on lots of dates, and you don't want to be the third wheel, especially when you go around and they're there. You're like, oh, hi, I'm just the lonely person who needs comforting right now. So that's my concern is when one of us starts dating, the other one will get left behind. In an ideal world, we'll both start dating at the same time. But, like I said, I've got lots of friends, but with this particular friend, because we're both literally went through the same thing, we are each other's person. We call each other's person. And I've got some really good, amazing friends a little bit further away who would always be there for me if I phoned them. But again, because this person's so close and we have a lot in common, we've definitely saved each other from total loneliness. And I think that was going to be my next question as well. I think we've kind of just answered it there, though, is how do you deal with being lonely? I'm guessing you just pick up the phone to your girlfriends then?
Yeah.
Or do you just reach for the gin?
Throw myself into TikTok, stick on a wig.
Bring out Tiff.
Yeah. See, I'm never lonely, but with her around. Wow, it's like little things. I'm just going back to you saying if one of you get into a relationship or not. So one of my close friends has now gone into a relationship. There is still like distance between me and her, but I was so happy for her.
Well, yeah,
and it's lovely, And then when I go down and visit, obviously they're down London way, so, and I'm like west in the Midlands, we have to kind of plan it. So she's still got her life doing all her bits with a partner, but then I love the fact seeing them together as well, and it's nice.
Yeah, and this is the thing though, like you've just done it. You've kind of you're so happy for her. If finding someone's really important to someone, then great. And if they find someone they're happy, you applaud it and say, I'm so happy for you. But like, there's still people, including myself. If I never find someone, I can be okay with that. I just surround myself with good, positive people. I don't mind my own company. I've got good friends and family to keep me entertained. I can cope with it. I've had a great relationship with my ex. If I don't get another one, what we had was still amazing. And I'm content with that. And not many people can say that.
You're young, Gareth. You'll find someone.
Oh my God. There,
I feel so old.
You're not old. You're just older.
Older. Apparently, I'm a daddy now. Who knew?
Daddy. Oh, and that's the other thing. The labels within the gay community, I hate them. Oh my God. I feel like I don't fit into a lot of labels. I'm like, I'm not a twink. I'm not a daddy. I'm not a bear, even though I'm a hairy bastard. I'm like, am I an otter? I'm all these things. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, would you just be a skinheadly because you've got a bald head? It doesn't work that way.
I think I'm a bit of an otter with the beard, and I've got a little bit of chest hair. But you're more hairy than I am.
Yeah, I'm a big hairy boy.
So would you be classed as like a bear?
I don't know, because I'm not. Bears a lot of the time are kind of shaped a little bit rounder. Not all the time.
What's less than a otter?
I have no idea, because there's that many labels. I don't know.
Because twink is like teenagers, going into the early 20s, isn't it?
Oh, and like clean shaven and smooth. That's what I always think.
You've also got jock. I've never been a jock.
I'm definitely not a jock. So, I mean, there's so many. And as I said, I don't think either of us are daddies. Sorry, Lee.
No.
But this is the thing, like when you go into like Scruff and all these other apps, and there's all these boxes that to fill out, top, bottom, bear, daddy, twink, what you're looking for, and masculine, feminine. You're just like, and I think this is why a lot of guys, and I know some people as well who are like this, they've got such a big checklist for their future partner, but it's so difficult to meet them all. So there has to be some sort of compromise. If finding someone's really important to you, then get rid of the checklist. You just go for someone that you might never have went for, and sometimes opposites attract, and they might not meet everything that you thought would be perfect, but at the same time, go for it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
I do find, though, that a big percentage of what I look for in a relationship is the connection sexual-wise, because sometimes my sex drive can be quite high, and yeah.
Well, this is another question that we asked on the YouTube channel. And you've kind of answered it earlier, but I'd be intrigued to see if it would change. Would you get with someone who was happy to be non-monogamous, to be open? Or is that a deal breaker for you?
See, I've never been in an open relationship.
But are you against it?
I wouldn't be against it. But then on the other hand, I've known people that have been in open relationships, and, I've maybe met people and they're in an open relationship, and then we scratch the itch and all that. I've never been in one. I would never say no. But on the other hand, with my past relationship history and the walls that I've got up, and I can be quite a jealous.
Jealousy in an open relationship never works.
I can be quite a jealous lover or quite a jealous partner. But I think a little bit of jealousy is kind of nice. Healthy, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go and slash someone's tires or, rip up all the clothes and stuff like that. But do you know what? I actually like, it's a bit, I don't know, it's like a little naughty devil. It's like, I feel a bit jealous that someone's looking at them. Yeah. Or they're looking at them, or even I've clocked them looking at someone. I'm like,
if you got with a guy and he was perfect, matched you perfectly in all shapes and forms or whatever, but didn't match your sex drive, and he said to you, well, I'm quite happy for you to go and get sex elsewhere. I can separate the love I have for you from sexual activity. Go for it. As long as, we set some rules, whether it be, telling me where you are, who the person is, or don't tell me who it is. There's different rules for different open relationships, whatever works for you. Would you be okay with that? Or would it just depend on the situation?
So you're saying if it's open and I'm in a relationship, they're perfect, but the sex isn't.
Maybe you're not compatible, or they're just not interested, or you want it more, so they're quite happy to be like, yeah, you're going.
Honestly,
again.
I would possibly end the relationship.
Okay, instead of going open, you'd rather just, even though the person was perfect for you, you would give that up. So you couldn't be in an open relationship then. You've just answered your question.
No, that's what I mean, because probably not. But I've never been in one, so I wouldn't know. Well, apparently I have been in a lot of open relationships. I just didn't know I was in them.
So that means you weren't in an open relationship.
They just cheated.
Well, I remember when we spoke about this with Reese before, and he was like, oh, it makes him really sad that, people are happy, the amount of people in open relationships are increasing. And he said it made him sad. And then at the end of the episode, you kind of realize actually it's quite a good thing, because it's a heteronormative way that we're taught that one person for everything is the way forward, and anything outside of that is wrong. But I know many people in open relationships with healthy marriages, and it works for them. And I just think if it works for you and you're not hurting anyone and you've got the trust and the communication, then go for it. So I'm definitely not against, open relationships, getting into one myself, and it would not bother me at all. But I can see why, especially if you suffer from extreme jealousy issues, why it wouldn't work for you. It's not for everyone. But it is interesting because it's not just for gay guys, it's, straight couples as well. There's that famous couple. Who are they? Who are quite happily open? Is it
Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith?
Yeah. So there's people that if it works for them, but there's so much stigma, and people think, oh, if you're open, then you're not got a strong relationship. You don't love each other as much. And I think actually it can be the opposite, because there's so much love there and so much trust there that what you've got is so much stronger than what's in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And so I'm not against it at all, but I can see why people would struggle.
Yeah, I think if I knew 100% that the trust was there and they would always come back.
It's all about ground rules and communication. Whatever you decide. I mean, there's some people I know who don't want to know anything. And there's other people going, no, we have an agreement of we want to know where, when, and who, and they need to meet the person or whatever. Everyone is different. But there's always that fear that the person who they would then go and meet for whatever itch to be scratched, a connection would be made. Would they then start to fall in love with them? So there's always, I can see why people would have the fear and the jealousy. But again, if you've got the trust and you've got the love, I don't see why it wouldn't work.
Would you ever get into do you know when there's like 3 people in the relationship?
A throuple.
Yeah, throuple.
So that would is that more like going into a polyamorous relationship?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, so no, I don't think so. I think for me, so for people who don't know, polyamorous, I believe, is when you can have more than one lover and more than one emotional relationship. So you can be in love with 2 people and you can be classed as in a relationship. Whereas open relationship, you can have obviously one person you're in love with and, that's your partner, but you can also have other sexual connections elsewhere. I'm sure that's the difference. So could I be in a relationship with more than one person? I don't think so, because that's just too much work.
Yeah.
And I just think, no, I don't think I would be unbuilt for that. I think one person to give all my love and time to is more than enough. But the open aspect, I could see me coping with that. I couldn't cope, I think, with having 2 people in a relationship. No. What about you?
Like you said, you know what? It'd be just too much like hard work. I can't even be asked to get into one relationship, let alone 2.
I know it'll be interesting because we're in March, April time of 2022. It'll just be interesting, when we eventually get with someone, if that happens, we can do another episode. How did you find your person? Well,
bring our boyfriends on or something like that.
In chat, yeah.
At the minute, I am single, but if possibly one particular person were to say yes, okay, then I would be quite happily not single.
Yeah, and I'm single, and if it happens, it happens. But as I said, it's not that important to me to find someone. As I said, I've had the husband, I've had the house, I've had the dream. Do I necessarily need it again? No. It would be nice, but it's not something that is the be all and end all for me. As I said, surrounding myself with amazing friends. I've got a fantastic family. I'm already a winner in that respect.
Yeah.
So, however, if you do want to date me, this is my number. No joke.
When was the last time you went on a date, Gareth?
Today.
Oh, really?
You knew that. So for those of you who don't know, Lee phoned me earlier today whilst I was on a date. And I picked up the phone, and obviously the guy was with me, and I was like, "Hi," and you were like, "I was like, I'm in a coffee shop with a friend," and you're like, "Oh, is it like a date?" And I was like, I couldn't say anything. I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "Okay, tell me later."
And I was like, "No, do you take your time? You take your time."
So no, it was nice, and we might, as I say, we might see each other again. But yeah, that was through online as well. I mean, it's always through, online, because there's no kind of other way. And people like family or what would say, well, how do you meet someone? And I was like, well, you ask pretty much every relationship you know of now. Most of the time, probably a high percentage of the time, it's been through a dating app, Tinder or Match.com, one they've paid for, or a freebie or whatever. It's usually that. Or the other people, they've been introduced through a friend, a friend of a friend. I don't know how many times you get asked or been said this to you, Lee. Oh, you're gay. I've got a gay friend. I'll set you up. And you're like, just because I'm gay and you know another gay person doesn't mean we should automatically be set up with each other. So
I
think
used to be like, let me see a pic. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know.
you're like, yeah, or no. So yeah, I'm quite happy just to keep dating until someone comes along. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, there's as long as some, as we've said, as long as some scratches, some itches are getting scratched, then you know things are getting maintained. Next question is, what don't you like about being in a relationship?
Like, say, like most of my relationships have been long distance, and like I don't mind long distance. And I was actually thinking about this either today or yesterday or whenever it was, because I thought we may touch on this. It's like it's the other person that sometimes puts a damper on it, or because of the distance. Oh, I wish I could see you. Well, yeah, it's okay. Lovely hearing that. And yes, I wish I could see you too, but we can't. You know we can't. So why say it?
Yeah. What's that
Because
achieving?
then that makes me feel bad. And then
Makes you feel guilty.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not in a horrible, nasty way. It's like we know the situation. There's distance. We've got our own lives. We're both trying to do well and, you know, keep everything running and everything else. But yeah, what else? Oh, when they like peanut butter. It's horrible. I hate peanut butter.
Or when they snore in bed.
That's it. Yeah, yeah.
Even though I apparently I was just about to say, apparently I was the one who was snoring. But again, my ex was a big spooner, and I don't mind a spoon. I love a spoon, but I then need my own space because I get really hot in bed. And I'm just like, right, we've had our spoon, go away, sort of thing. So it was kind of a love-hate. Like, you loved that kind of getting into bed and snuggling, but at the same time, it was like, right, I hate it now, get off me. You know, like the Friends episode, the hug and roll, do the hug and roll.
But then you've got that arm.
You've got the arm. Many times that happened, yeah.
But literally, I'm like a radiator in bed.
Yeah, so was my ex.
And it's just, yeah.
And it's even some of the people that, you know, I've shared a bed with a few times. I'm like, oh my God, just go away from me because you're so hot. Like, too hot. You're like a radiator. Leave me alone, please. So I do like my own space. And this is the thing. When I first got with my ex, obviously I'd been single for most of my life. So getting used to sharing a bed was difficult. You know, listening to someone constantly breathe or move, I was like, it took me a long time to be able to sleep. And then when you separate, it's then the opposite. You're like, oh, it's too quiet. You know, the bed's too spacious.
Put a pillow there or something.
Just so you feel like someone's there. So it's kind of the both worlds. You get so used to something and there's a certain way of
what I
sleeping.
do, and I've done this for years and years and years, I go to sleep with an audible book on.
Yeah, I've started doing that. Especially when you've got like an Alexa. I feel like I can't say it because she's right next to me. I say, you know, play a bedtime story. And usually they're like 10, 15 minutes long. And she tells me a little story and it helps me go to sleep because, again, I'm one of those people that takes a while for me to shut off when I'm sleeping and my mind goes racing. So having something to listen to and focus my mind, even when the story ends, I'm like, I'm now thinking of that story as opposed to all the other shit that's going on in my head. And then it helps me drift off. Whereas when you have a partner before, even just listening to them sleep or whatever, it can be quite therapeutic. Especially when they're sleeping, it makes you want to sleep as well. It's like when you see someone yawning, you just yawn. So when someone's having a nice sleep next to you, you go, oh, I want that to be me. And it can sometimes help you. But my ex, oh my God, he went to sleep so quick. Like, he'd be like, night. And I was like, what?
I hate that.
20 minutes later, I'm still trying to sleep.
Yes. And then they start, and you're just about to nod off and they snore. And I'm like,
So yeah, the sleeping things, yeah, I can understand that. For me, it's one of the reasons why I love being single. It's like you said, you can watch whatever you want on TV. You don't have to think about someone else's needs. And that sounds so selfish. But see, when you've had a crap day and you just want to come in and put your jammies on and sit down and watch some crap TV with a tub of ice cream or order a takeaway. But when you're coming home to your partner, you're like, oh, you have to talk. You have to, you know, have dinner together. You have to listen to their day. And it sounds awful, but you just couldn't be asked sometimes. You're just like, oh, this is the time where I would just wish I was alone. And then you've got the other end where you come home and you want to vent. You want someone to shout at or tell them about the day, get their opinion and advice. And when you live alone, you kind of miss that. You come home and I'm starting doing a Shirley Valentine and talking to the wall.
You know what I do? I normally phone a friend or my mum on the drive home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just need to vent. And I'm like, rah, 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 rah.
Yeah.
This happened, that happened. And I was like, oh my God. And this happened. Blah, 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 blah. And then once I get, and I'm like, oh, I feel better now.
But it helps. But I think sometimes coming home and, you know, like my ex loved to cook. So having the dinner prepared for you and I'll be ready and, you know, what I miss the most is being looked after. You know, I missed someone looking after
Hold
me.
on. Literally, what I was about to say was, just before you said what I miss is about being looked after, I used to quite enjoy cooking for me and somebody else. So literally, I'd come home and that'd be like my little happy place. I'd cook a nice meal, you know, have drinks and all this and the other. So I kind of enjoyed looking after somebody.
Yeah.
But then every now and again, I'd be like, okay, it's your turn to cook. But then 9 times out of 10 be a takeaway.
Yeah. But this is the thing. It's like, it's the best of both worlds. Like there's so many positives about being in a relationship and there's some negatives. And everyone listening to this who's in a relationship will say to you, you know, it's all about compromise and it's about understanding that, yeah, I need to be alone today and I'm going to go up into the spare bedroom and just watch and have my own space. And without them having to take that personal, even like my parents do it, you know, and you're just like, it works because they know each other so well that they're like, right, I know you need some space. I'm going to go and give it to you. And it works, you know, and you just get into that habit of knowing each other inside out.
I remember my grandparents, you said about your parent, my grandparents, when they had the house, like say from mid-afternoon, my granddad would be in the back room watching what he wanted to watch on telly. My nan would be in the front room doing her knitting, watching what she wanted on the telly. Yeah, so maybe we should take a leaf out of the older generations.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be in a relationship for 30 years. Well, I might be if I get with someone like in the next 5-10 years. But yeah, it's like we say, you know, not everyone in a relationship is 100% happy all the time. And it's understanding and appreciating that. And, you know,
it's about give and take. I think the main thing is communication. I always say this to people when I'm getting into a relationship, you know, communicate, talk to me. Don't, if you want to end it, talk to me. We'll try and sort it out.
Absolutely.
Don't just go up and cheat and this, that, and the other, and then they did, and bye. Yeah,
if he wasn't happy, tell you, and then go and have sex with someone else, and then it's not cheating, you know. But some people unfortunately get off on the thrill of doing it behind your back and stuff, which is not good. And you learn from your relationships as well. You know, when you look back at certain relationships, you know that there's things you didn't do quite right in the relationship. You did wrong. You know, there's a lot of times I was probably selfish in my relationship, and you know, I didn't appreciate a lot of the things that were done for me. And then you look back and you go, yeah, actually, I could have done things a lot better. And I'm sure they could have done things a lot better too.
But I was fabulous. I was amazing. I was the best boyfriend ever.
I'm sure your exes will say that too. I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, I do think we've spoke to many people in the past as well. Being gay is hard a lot of the time. But being gay and single is hard, especially if you don't want to be single, because it's not, I mean, don't get me wrong, as I said, straight people struggle as well, but I just feel that I think when you're gay, you're kind of brought up feeling lonely, and because you're a lot of the time you're brought up in the closet, so you're hiding yourself sometimes, so you never are able to be 100% your authentic self until you hit that time where you come out and you start to find yourself. So I think we're programmed to naturally feel lonely. So when you don't have anyone, you can understand why mental health is a lot higher in gay men, because of all the kind of, well, we're going to talk about it, you know, in an episode as well, or by this time we've probably already spoke about it, about internalized homophobia. You know, there's lots of things that just add on, and having someone by your side, you know, it helps. You know, it does make a big difference. So it can be a lonely world out there, but there's lots of things we can do to help. There's TikTok, there's, you know, lots and lots of support groups and chat rooms, and, you know, there's so many things out there now that to help people who are feeling lonely. And not everyone's lucky like me and you, Lee, where we've got all these amazing friends and family around us that we can phone up anytime for a chat, or they can pop round. Some people just don't have that. So we are very lucky that I'm saying, I don't mind being single for the rest of my life because I've got so many, amazing people in my life. But there's other people who might go, well, trying to find someone's difficult because I don't know where to look, or I really struggle with social situations and I don't have a good supportive family, or I don't have any friends. So it can be really difficult for some people. So I'm very aware that we live quite a privileged life and we're very lucky.
Yeah, definitely. I do feel very blessed with my family, 100%. Yeah.
But this is the thing as well. What happened to like speed dating? We need to go on like speed dates.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that because again, you're forced to physically sit down for someone for 1 or 2 minutes or whatever. See this connection. That's what I think we need, because everything now is just judging what everyone looks. You cannot tell someone's personality from a photo or their little description. So you're swiping left, right. You go, oh, no, he does that for a living, not interested. Oh, he likes that kind of dog. I don't like that dog. Oh, you're just so judgy. So you could be swiping left and saying no to someone that could be perfect for you based on what they've written or based on the type of photo they've posted up. So I like the fact that it's so easy to search for people, but at the same time, it's not a healthy way to meet people. And there's been so many success stories, as we know, but at the same time, it's still so shit. Like I would love to just go on like actual dates now. I need to maybe look for some speed dating. If anyone knows any speed dating in Scotland.
There you go. I bet there is now.
There must be.
Or if not, set one up.
A little speed dating thing. But again, it's even harder when you're gay to do a speed dating thing, because obviously they'll be focusing mainly on heterosexual couples because there's a lot more of them, obviously. But we'll see. Again, as I've said, I'm not, it's not an end goal right now. I must find a man, but I'm happy to keep dating. And if we click and someone gets more serious, great. If not, so be it. So this is just a random episode. We've just been randomly chatting about our relationships and single and what we want. So it's not actually being like a very focused episode. So we might be kind of all over the place here. But if you do have any comments to us, if we've said anything that you have an opinion on, please, reallifegaze.com and click on the get in touch with us button. Did you see, Lee, that we had a review, a really nice review on Apple Podcasts? So I'm going to read this out, okay? The heading is absolutely fantastic, and it's by Trixie Kerr, okay? It says, such an amazing podcast. I've loved it since episode 1. The guys are brilliant at discussing important topics, but also bring humor to the talk as well. Honestly, highly recommend you check this podcast out. You won't be disappointed. I've learned a lot so far and also learned something about myself, which has kept me on my own personal journey. Keep being trailblazers, guys, because you are fabulous. And without realizing it, you're helping so many people.
Ah,
how nice is that?
I didn't see that, but that is lovely.
So we've got quite a lot of ratings, which is good, but that's one of the nicest kind of review we've had. And this is what we've said before. We're not doing this to get famous. We're not doing this to make money, because we don't make money. We're not doing this to get thousands and thousands of views and likes and stuff. We're doing it for people like this person here, because we've made a difference to that person's life. And even like people like my sister who are listening to this podcast, she's learning things that she didn't know. And that's why we do it. We're doing it, to have a little bit of fun and a bit of banter with ourselves and maybe give people a chuckle here and there. But we're talking about HIV, we're talking about non-binary, we're talking about trans, we're talking about asexuality, we're talking about everything and anything. And we're going to be here for hopefully a long time.
Yeah.
And just chatting about things we think need to be spoken about and need to be discussed. And that's why we're doing it. So the fact that this person's written in and said we're making a difference to them, I'm like, oh, if you feel the same, please let us know, because we do love hearing from people. And a lot of people message me and say, great episode, I learned a lot, which is great. But if you haven't told us, and we might not even know who you are, please, again, reallifegaze.com, or you can get us on our socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Real Life Gaze. We love hearing from you, because we got all these numbers in, seeing how many people are listening and stuff, but it's just a number. So it's nice to see a name or even a face behind the numbers, shall we say.
Definitely.
Yeah. So is there anything else you want to add, Lee, before we do spin of the wheel?
No, I don't think so. But if a particular person is listening, you got my number. No, joking.
It's 0752. Right. So this week, we're not doing a Would You Rather. We're doing who's most likely to. So, Tiffany, are you ready to spin that wheel?
Ooh. Go.
Who is most likely to?
Where's it gonna land?
Who's most likely to die first if you were in a horror movie? Out of me and you. Oh.
Have you watched all of the Scary
Movie?
Yes. Oh my God. So the first rule is don't say, I'll be right back and all this.
And don't run up the stairs.
Don't run up the stairs. Oh, yeah. Literally.
And they always fall over as well when they're getting chased.
Always fall over.
Oh, I fell. Out of the two of us, who's most likely to get murdered first?
I'm quite a fast runner.
You trying to say it would be me then?
No, I just feel that I remember once I was in a student house. I lived there, and then we were having water fights in the house and everything. And then I thought it was like funny to flick the trip switch on the lights, and it was literally pitch black. You couldn't see a thing, and I scared myself that much. I was just like in a ball on the stairs. I was like, I don't want to play anymore.
Basically, Lee would be murdered first because he's a big scaredy cat.
I think I would be murdered first, yes.
I think I would flail so much. And if like the Scream Man was coming at me with a knife or something, I think I would like go all Buffy on his ass and I'd be like, "Hiya!" In an ideal world, that's what I think in my head I would do. Which is really, I'd be out that door, probably a garage-shaped hole in the door, running for miles, whilst Lee's crying on the stair, getting stabbed to death.
I can't say it because you can't swear, but it's like, run, beep, run.
But run, bitch, run. So yeah, Lee would get killed first because I would be too scared. I would be running so fast.
But I am a quick runner. If I get to the running thing first, then yeah.
But hopefully we never have to find that out.
No.
Some of these are so random. So yeah, that was our kind of gay and single dating relationships episode. We've kind of talked about everything and anything. And we'll probably bring this topic back up later on and maybe talk more specifically about relationships and dealing with separations, because we've both dealt with separations. You obviously a lot more than me because I've only had one separation. But how we coped and coping mechanisms and how we managed to get over it almost,
Yeah.
So I think that could be a future episode, but this one we were just kind of just randomly chatting about where we are in our lives just now, in our relationships and what we do for dates. So yeah, as we've said before, please reallifegays.com, get in touch with us, and thank you so much for listening. So I've been Gareth,
and I've been Lee.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.